chosen.
This video will be a critique of a critique. Dustin Nemos is my man. He's my spirit brother. We're both on the path to open eyes, to challenge perspectives, to encourage the newly seeing to continue on their journey. I think we're at odds concerning this character, Austin Steinbart. I'll play a clip from Dustin and then I'll comment.
Him at one point, and he insulted me some more, and it was not very revealing. Still no evidence, by the way.
We need evidence that Austin insulted Dustin. If any of your viewers can show that, then that'll at least be something for his case.
Whatsoever. So, continuing on.
At around the same time, so they can keep on baselessly slandering and stirring up trouble against me without me being able to respond. Pretty cowardly, right? Believe it or not.
Well, not really, because what's happening here is that, on the one hand, by the way, first of all, you blocked me, so pretty cowardly, right?
And again, we need evidence that Austin blocked Dustin. Perhaps Dustin could show a screenshot of Austin blocking him.
But, I digress. People are joining on a bandwagon, as I said earlier, who have less than 10, 20, maybe 50 followers, and they have some generic stuff in there. But, you can tell when it's somebody who has no following and no history, and it's a new account, that somebody is just sitting there on their 3 different monitors and running through some different accounts.
And what precedes is Dustin's worst argument and the reason why I decided to make this video. I myself have a Twitter account. I merely have 70 followers. Less than a month ago, only had 50 followers. I had a low follower account for a year, but I'm not a bot account. I've had a YouTube account associated with a Twitter account for over a year, but unlike some others, not all can get a high follower count quickly. So just because someone has a low follower count does not necessarily mean that it's a person with a higher count creating extra accounts. These could actually be unique people. You just have to look closely at the Twitter accounts to see if the way the tweets are commenting, it appears to be a unique individual.
Back themselves up. It gives the illusion that you have people on your side that are supporting you, but in reality, about 10% of the people supporting him are real people, it looks like. So, I did see about 2 or 3 accounts in there that had over 300, but that's not that many. And, there are a few more that are starting.
So his contention is because the Twitter accounts have less than 100 followers, they're automatically bot accounts. And from Dustin's estimation, only 10% of Austin's Twitter followers had the requisite number of followers to not be bots. This is actually an argument this guy's making. This is another challenge for facts and evidence, proof that these individual accounts are actually bot accounts. The whole claim of bot accounts is actually a classic leftist narrative. They often claim that people who disagree with them are bots from Russia somehow. Let's continue.
Starting to follow on the bandwagon, I think, but they won't be there for long, I guess. But most of the people that I saw in the debate back and forth were, less than 50 followers accounts. These are bot accounts. These are his, extra accounts. You can make a new Twitter account very quickly. So, it makes sense that the bigger accounts that are being harassed and being, our feed is being blown up more than normal, which is already pretty bad, okay? Because once you get to a certain level of, being a public figure, you just get a lot of messages, period. And if you don't channel it right, you get overwhelmed. And, what he's doing effectively is overwhelming us with his economic warfare on social media with his spam bot messages, okay? That's what's happening here. So it makes sense that the other YouTubers and the other people on social media and Twitter are mass blocking him. And look, I didn't block him. He blocked me, in fact, because he couldn't handle the rhetoric. He couldn't handle the simple question, what evidence do you offer? And he has none, just insults. So continuing on, here we go.
I've had more trouble with them inciting idiots to come harass me than I have with almost anyone else.
Kind of the way that you're doing with these poor companies that you're harassing at the beginning of the video, called Dato. The name of the video is a Dato blockade, or basically company blockade. But it's okay for you to do it, but it's not okay for other people to do it, right? It's not okay for other people to ask you questions that would make you prove your legitimacy.
This is a actual decent point that Dustin's making. So we're in an agreement here. It does appear to be a bit hypocritical. The context is not exactly analogous, though. With the Datto company, Austin is basically inciting individuals to email them in communication. That's different than blocking, but there is a disruption, and a disruption that's seen with Datto is similar to a disruption that can be seen if true bots were swarming Dustin's account. However, that disruption is not the same thing as Austin blocking Dustin.
Instead, we all have to buy your bullshit and accept it. And anyone who questions otherwise, even in a polite and compassionate way, the way that I've done, is attacked and threatened with, whatever it is that you think that you're going to do to us after we expose you as being a liar. And that's it. Then they move on. They blocked you and it's done. And the only one that's still doing anything about it is probably the people in the back and forth and the audiences that are going at it in Twitter right now. But I wanted to do this video to bring people's attention because he's right. Most of the YouTubers are not going to watch his videos. It's a waste of our time. But when you do watch it, you find that he's creating illegal situations and telling people that General Flynn says thank you for it. I mean, this is insane, and we have to expose this.
I have to correct that. Austin did admit that by saying Flynn thanked him, that he was crossing the line. There's a video where Austin does admit this and he takes it back. So Dustin is right in the sense that Austin did sort of claim there was a solicitation from Flynn. However, Austin recognized the error and tried to set it straight in a subsequent video.
So I'm sorry if people think it's more drama, but look, sometimes drama is legitimate. Jesus himself said something along the lines, not an exact quote here, but I did not come to bring peace. I came to bring the sword. And that is a very good, an analogy, I guess, for this channel. It's a good slogan, because this channel is here not to bring peace, but to expose evil. And that's a very big difference. And that sometimes brings with it a lot of crap. It sometimes brings with it threats. It sometimes brings with it my grandmother being gang stalked. And it sometimes brings with it a whole lot of drama and attacks and things like that. But that's part of what we're doing here, to expose and roll back evil and turn things back to dark to light. And
This appears to have good intentions overall.
And help further the Great Awakening. Something this guy knows nothing about.
But right there he made a mistake. He doesn't really know this Austin character that well. So he's sort of being presumptuous by saying he knows nothing about it.
So continuing on.
From the CIA, of course. How crazy is that? The people claiming to rep Q the most are the ones refusing to look at any hard evidence, refusing to talk to anyone they disagree with, and sending their stupid followers after me while simultaneously using my operation as a handshake.
This appears to be true. Look at this meme warfare hate against Austin. Grandstanding show clown.
My operation, of course, because he thinks he is QAnon. And in his past videos, he's even mentioned that he is QAnon from the future.
Correction. This is a very strange point from Austin. So Austin actually claims that he is quote-unquote baby Q, and that what this means is that a version of himself from the future communicates with the present day version of him, partially using the Q drops. I'm not sure if there are other means of communication. That is one of the stated means in Austin's videos. So it is not that Austin in the present is from the future, but it's that there's another version of him that is doing the Q drops. To me, that would sort of imply that Austin is more of a spectator watching the Q drops happen and therefore has no control over them. Now, this is problematic because there are some instances where Austin claims to narrate the Q proofs or Q drops as if he's doing it in the present. So there needs to be some clarification as far as who is Q versus who is Q plus versus are there two Qs. These issues have to be cleared up at some point. The takeaway that I had was that Q plus is a future version of himself and that Q is a present version of himself, meaning POTUS is not Q plus. That's sort of what I took away from it, but I'm not exactly sure.
Doing to protect your family with your guns that you're flashing around all over YouTube with your latex gloves on, and then in the very next couple videos making something that basically puts General Flynn in a very compromising position if he's following you on Twitter. Let me show you what happens to those of us who are really taking risks. Hundreds of those coming in every minute. Couldn't even turn my phone into airplane mode when that happened. And that was right after I started to talk about suing big tech. And then at my own expense, many thousands of dollars, went out and hired the super lawyer Todd McMurtry to tell us how to win. And then at more expense, many thousands of dollars in a year of my life, I went out and helped build a movement to push back against Google and other big tech censorship. Stolen valor that you're talking about, because this is just one of the stories that I've accumulated over a long period of time serving this movement and helping President Trump and Q win nonstop against fake news and the deep state. This is stolen valor, what you're doing right now, trying to insinuate yourself into this movement and then derail it.
All argumentation up to the point where he was saying Austin is demonstrating stolen valor was valid. But this one little point he makes is made under the assumption that Austin is a shill and is on a grift. But he has to firmly establish that point with evidence. He doesn't actually know for sure. It's just his suspicion. So the suspicion leads to the accusation that Austin is just a nobody inserting himself into the movement for stolen valor.
He's stealing my valor because I could ignore that. They're also using their platforms to stir up violent threats against my family members, to such an extreme degree that FBI agents came over to check on us yesterday.
I don't know if this is true. So in this case, Austin also needs to have a video where he demonstrates the facts and evidence. In a recent live stream, Austin does show that he has an FBI contact because he plays the voicemail from an individual named Steve. So those facts are demonstrated, but the specific allegation regarding family being threatened, there aren't any clear instances of evidence he's demonstrated to support that.
Yep, you heard that correctly. Those ignorant Q Pharisees incited so many threats against us that some FBI agents had to come over and check on us to make sure we were okay. A great example.
Possibly did. And, you could get the FBI to come to your house a number of ways, and they will show up reliably to take reports on a number of different issues. It doesn't mean that you're Q. It doesn't mean that you had them over for a cup of tea. It doesn't mean that anything. However, some of the claims that he is making online are troubling, and we'll see. Let's continue.
Example of exactly how egotistical and selfish those stupid Q Pharisees really are. Despicably so, really. The good news about the FBI checking on us was it gave me the opportunity to go on the record and tell them the exact same story that I've been telling you guys. How we work for the Defense Intelligence Agency, how I'm running a live military intelligence operation called QAnon, how I have drugs, guns, and explosives in my house, and how I hacked Terry Bradshaw's medical records and posted them on the internet with impunity.
So these are some claims that he's making that are very illegal. And anyone who actually had done these things would not be making them.
He actually had done those things, Dustin. There's a video where medical records are indeed posted online. The question is, was that done with permission or not? It's doubtful that it was done with permission.
And Q, of course, would not reveal his home address or any revealing information because, as we know, Q would be killed immediately for doing so, because the deep state would want to take him down.
I have a video that describes the fact that Austin has some security detail that's around him at all times.
Instantly. So the fact that this nobody upstart, if you'll forgive me, is...
No, you're not forgiven. You're allowing your bias to cloud your judgment.
Pretending to be Q on the internet and worried about trolls, harassing him online. It's a little bit discerning, I think, for those who have discernment, to say, why would Q worry about little shit like this? Why would Q organize harassment campaigns
Now, who is the nice guy?
Against companies or individuals? Why would Q try to, buy a gun and walk around his home and threaten people who...
At this point, you can sort of sense a tone of contempt, which is an immature position and argument. So this one aspect does concern me about Dustin the most. There's a string of arrogance and contempt that runs through many of his videos, and he also has the classic deadpan eyes. I can consider that to be a coincidence. Many individuals look mellowed out. I'm just a little worried, especially for his videos where he's arguing against his adversaries. He lets off some details that cause me to question his integrity to some extent. But, on other occasions, he does seem to show that he's a person of honor and integrity. At this point, I can just say that Dustin's human.
Come to his house with his latex glove on for some reason. Why would Q do these basic things that are pretty low level? Honestly, these are troll moves. These are not Q moves, right? This is not at the level of Q. And Q might do an op that tracks the bad guys.
And here is the attempt by Dustin to deify Q. Deify an individual he's never met. This was a problem that's mentioned by Austin.
When they go to Hong Kong or North Korea or something like that, but he's not going to, he may reveal, information that no one has seen before, unique pictures, things like that, to confirm that he is really Q. But he doesn't, he doesn't, organize group bully campaigns against companies to reinstate his account. Anyway.
He doesn't know Q well enough to know what he does or does not do, or even Q's gender.
Let's continue.
On the record to the FBI agents. I even showed them some of my videos. So now there's a hard paper trail for all the thick-headed Q Pharisees to check into. Meaning that those of you who still don't believe my story can feel free to submit a Freedom of Information Act request to the FBI for that house call and see exactly what I told those agents.
Another feature of Austin that is somewhat impressive is how apparently transparent he tries to be. He gives you some of the major details of his life. He has numerous public profiles you can look up. And he shows things that you shouldn't be able to see. So that is one impressive aspect of Austin, and really the main aspect that caused me to look into him a little bit more closely. Well, that's the end for this video. I just wanted to do a critique of a critique. Dustin still is somewhat of a hero of mine. I watched his YouTube account grow over the course of the Q movement onset and around 2017 going forwards. I've only managed to directly communicate with him in one or two instances, and in both cases he knocked down some argument I was making. I think his censor, as far as who is trustworthy versus who is LARPy or a body, I think his censor is probably a little bit too sensitive but not specific enough. I myself am quite trustworthy, but this individual, he'd be less likely to be inclined to think so, and it's understandable because individuals who achieve some degree of fame, they can usually find themselves assaulted by hordes and hordes of grifters and jealous individuals. So soon you just mark everybody as the same type of individual. Of course, not everybody, but most people. It's just a change in the filter of trust. Anyways, bye now.